welcome to the 2024 Australian 1/8 Off-Road National Titles. We're here in sunny Adelaide, a little bit windy, but otherwise beautiful. Cold mornings, but nice days. We're at the Southern Districts Model Car Club, the only 8-scale off-road track in South Australia, or in Adelaide rather, and we're going to take you through a track walk. It's a very interesting track. There's a hell of a lot going on, very busy, and very high grip. So we're going to walk you through the whole layout, cover the interesting points, the option lines, the bumps, all of the bits you need to know to go fast around here. I'm Andrew Foord.
I'm Joel Power.
Oh, this is Joel Power.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Let's hit it.
Let's hit it.
Down.
We'll start.
Go on 40.
Actually, we'll start with the main straight, which is, if you get down a bit low there, Tony, you can see the main straight has a nice little rise in it. So you come down off the last jump and you come up over this rise, and you come down this rise into the first corner.
And as you come down this hump here, you'll find like a lot of guys are jumping and landing where this smooth section is. It's not really an option. You're on full noise. This part of the track here doesn't see tyres very regularly through here. You can see where it starts to grease up and get real grippy. Dudes are landing from up there down here just with the pace that's coming through. So much grip, so much speed.
Yeah, it's a very interesting section because it's a main straight that has a little bit of difficulty to it actually. Bit of undulation, bit of change, and it sends you incredibly quickly into this first corner. One of the interesting parts about this first corner is there's a couple of braking bumps. There's one here which doesn't really buck the car too much. The cars are kind of jumping over that, and you can see the surface is a little bit different in that spot. It's not as sparkly. Cars aren't actually touching that. But then you move into the really critical braking bump here. And this is where a lot of guys are braking for this first corner, and you can't brake on it. If you brake on it, it'll lift the back of the car up and send you straight into the fence. But you need to brake either before it or directly after it. Braking directly after it's the fastest way, but you have to be on it to make that corner.
That's right. It's super risky. I'm not as talented as Andrew. When I come down this straight, I'm on full noise. I hit that first braking point bump, give a couple of taps and coast this section here. Then I'm on the brake around the corner here. I actually like to go a little bit wider here when I can. If I get a good run down the straight, I try and just avoid that bump completely and sort of come through this line here. You can see the groove. And now that we've got this teardrop section on the first corner, we used to have a harsh hairpin straight away. Now we've got this double apex sort of teardrop section. It's not a bad line to be off that rope a little bit and really pinch it up tight on that next corner. It's a pretty sick section. This is a new addition to the track, and I'm pumped with it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it is a really cool section. It actually quite a lot of fun for a section with no jump in it. It's a lot of fun, and one of the interesting parts about this section is the braking. The track has so much traction.
Yeah, listen to this, Tony.
Yeah, I don't know if we needed to put the mics down, but we did. But it has so much traction that if you've got your car set up well, and it's not traction rolling, you can actually scrub most of your speed off throttle. You don't actually need to hit the brakes at all, almost, in this section.
Absolutely, man. I fully agree.
Yeah, you can take quite a bit of a wide line, as Joel said, off the rope, which is where most people are going. You can see right on the apex there's a section that looks a little bit dusty and dirty. No one's really actually hitting that section. They're going just to the right of that, or to the left if you're looking at it on the camera now, and coming a little bit wider, having a nice wide line into this hairpin. And you can use the grip on the surface to slow the car down, almost acting as a bit of a drag brake.
Absolutely.
And this corner is one of the most difficult corners on the track because it sets you up for the next off-camber section, which is incredibly critical to get right with car placement.
Yeah.
So coming through this first corner and leading on to the off-camber, it's virtually a straight line. When we get over to the off-camber, we can probably look back at that first corner and see that straight line.
Look at this braking point here. This is where a lot of guys are jamming it on. You can see how much it's molded the clay. I'll get out of the shadow, but it's so crazy, man. Coming up to this off camber, it's super critical that you're really getting up near this rope. Given how much slope, I'm not sure if you can see fully on the camera, but we've built this up significantly high. We're probably 450, 500 mil higher than ground level up on here. And if you're not up on this top tacky section, the car just wants to roll off that edge and you can lose so much time just in this corner.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Up from this top section, you can see these little holes up the top, and whilst on camera, or on the live stream, they might look like they upset the car. They actually don't upset the car at all.
Absolutely.
But what they do is actually the bit of dust that comes out of there gets flung out onto the race line and ends up down at the bottom of the off camber.
Yeah.
Which is what makes this section so difficult. The undulation on the off camber is hard to see from the rostrum because you're looking at it from so far down. And you really need to be, like Joel said, up right on this apex.
Yep.
Probably 2 car widths from the apex is the ideal line, and you have maximum traction. There is a hole there, obviously, which doesn't upset the car, and you can kind of hit that pretty much every lap. You can almost use it as a bit. I was using it almost as a turning marker.
Point, man.
Yeah,
absolutely. In the truck, I could come up, I'd just bang a little bit of brake, and as soon as my front wheel hit here, it just rotates super hard back on the gas for this next section here.
Yeah, and if you look back, Tony, from this off camber, the ideal line, 2 car widths off the apex, you can see it's virtually a straight line. So if you carry nice speed off the straight through this continuing radius corner, you can almost straight line it up to the off camber, 1.5 car widths off the rope, and then rotate down, heading on towards the roller into the hairpin.
Crowd control, if you will.
Crowd control, if you will.
We've dropped a few names for different parts of the track. We'll bring that up through the track walk for sure.
Absolutely.
The pitches, man, coming in. So this is a new section here. We used to always cut straight through here underneath the crossover. It's another new addition to the track. Just a bit of a slowing down bump with a really tight pinching apex over the other side. And it looks pretty cruisy from here, but when you're standing up on the rostrum up there, this rope here actually is out of sight. So it's a big guessing game. Every time you come over here, you're trying to pinch that as nice and tight as you can to get that straight line through the chicane under the crossover. But you actually lose vision of the front of your car as you're doing it. A lot of guys are getting caught out. I've been marshalling this point quite a lot today. And my most common marshal on this track has been rolling guys over that have just clipped this rope straight on the lid.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting section. I think for most tracks that you go to, invisible corners aren't really a thing. And I guess when we were building the track, we wanted to make something that wouldn't upset cars too much and wouldn't crash guys too much, but certainly it rewards accuracy. And for the guys over the first 2 days of the national titles that have been learning this layout, it's a new layout for all of us here. We've had 1 day on it. That certainly this was a section that took a little bit to learn where the car needs to be. And you can see like from the apex to the rope up on the right hand side here is 4 meters. So the track width actually comes up on a bank.
Yeah.
And you can see, or as the weekend's developed, you can see right now the line is actually pushed up quite wide up the hill. A lot of guys are coming sort of all the way out here and using that berm to go into this next section, but that's not the fast line. If you're up in here, you're up in a bit of a dust, you're not really set up for this next section.
Absolutely.
You can see if you look right from that apex out, you can virtually straight line your way under our crossover and get ready for that next left-hander into the table section.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a wicked section. As Fordy said, it's super rewarding if you can hit that apex over here and straight line it. A lot of guys are like just clipping this rope, really getting that fine line. We've got this mound for the down ramp of the crossover. You can see how much chunk's taken out. Guys will come through super quick. You've got this wicked line, and all it takes is you to clip that inside wheel on here, and then you've flicked yourself unsettled onto this tacky, grippy surface, and it's just like cannonballing into this center section. So it's such a learning curve getting this right, not trying to overdo it. Because it's so straight, you really can open up the throttle, but it bites you, man. It really bites you.
It does. It rewards accuracy. And
oath.
probably Kyle McBride was the best through here today. He had virtually a straight line, as you can see on the camera now, sitting down in that position from that apex here. You can, if you're very accurate, you can straight line it. And this is quite a high speed section and it's very grippy.
Yeah.
So Kyle was the cleanest through here today that I witnessed.
And he was, honestly, man, when I was marshalling over there, he was probably one of the smoothest on the throttle. He really wasn't grabbing a handful. It's not like he was trying to get out of there like a rocket ship, nothing like that. It's just this easy on the throttle, pick your line, get through, and it's just as fast as safest way.
Yeah,
it's really good.
It is. And if you're not straight lining, you are doing a bit of left-right action.
Yeah.
To get yourself set up into this next section, which, whilst it is a straight bit of track, it is actually quite an important section to set up for the jump here. As you come down this section, if you've got a good run, you'll end up going right towards this, not really a braking bump. Guys are braking in here, and that's kind of what's caused the divots in the track, or the dirt to be almost molded. The dirt is it is soft. You can mold it with your feet. So you can push in there and actually move the dirt, and the front bumper and the chassis of the vehicles are moving dirt and creating almost this little bump. It ends up being right on a braking zone where guys are trying to slow down for this first tabletop.
And also an apex of the corner. Once you've come through that chicane section, this is a pretty critical point to square yourself up. And it's caught me a couple of times. I've come through and I'm trying to square up for this tabletop, and all it takes is to catch a little bit of the outer wheel on the car, and it gets super hairy, super quick.
Yeah, it'll really unsettle, especially in buggy. Truggies seem to go through there pretty cruisy, but certainly in the buggy classes, catching that at high speed with the wheels turned can really unsettle the vehicle. And it's really critical because you head straight into this first set of this tabletop in this set of jump section, which is 2 tabletops in a row. And this lip is quite a vertical wall. So this actually sends the car really, really high in the air. We've had quite a lot of wind this weekend. Yep. So getting this right and getting the nose down early to downslope the other side is, one, difficult in the wind and really important for a fast lap. But also, downsloping this tabletop sets you up for the next option line, which is the first option line on the track. We have a few of them. But this table section is a section that you can make up time doing this option line. And the option line, or the options you have in this section, is table, table, single, or you can table, down ramp this, and jump this tabletop over the single into the apex of the corner. Certainly in buggy, and electric buggy actually does it the easiest.
Yes, absolutely.
Nitro buggy, you can absolutely do it, but you have to be very accurate on the landing. Yep. Truggy, I really haven't seen any trucks
Oh man, I've done it 2 or 3 times. It's pretty risky. Yeah. I've opted to stay out of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
You've really, as soon as you've jumped that first lip and you come into this down ramp, if you nail it, you've got a clean run, the car's square, go for it. Get up there, get the nose high, smack a bit of brake so that you can down ramp. But it really is a buggy jump. But it's a cool option line, man. You could be in one of those battles where you're coming over this section together. It's a pretty squirrely section, 2 cars at once, and all it takes is for you to nail that down ramp and the guy who's next to you not to, and you've got this jump triple out, and you've got that position on him straight away. It's
safe line.
Rewarding.
The safe line through here is table, table, and then downside the second table, roll this single and set yourself up for the apex. But you can probably gain, I'm going to say it's in the region of 0.3, 0.4 of a second if you grease this section, which guys were doing in nitro buggy, and certainly in electric buggy. All the fast guys were doing this section, and you only have to look as far as the lap times between nitro and electric buggy to see that the electric buggies are significantly faster around this track than nitro.
Absolutely.
And it's because they can do these option sections with such ease, really. They don't have to be as accurate.
Yeah, they don't have to be as accurate. They're not searching for that perfect down ramp on the first one. As long as they're square, as long as they can get the car into it, then they're happy days. This point here, I want to just quickly talk about this section. From where I've been standing on the rostrum, which is right where that Proline banner is up there, this apex is super hard for me to judge. I find myself down ramping quite a lot and coming in early and clipping this rope, trying to get that nice straight line through to the next jump. You're actually better off, from what I've noticed, coming down this down ramp somewhat in the middle of the jump rather than hugging that line and trying to stay tight on the rope. It's super good to just hit that middle, go wide, and then get your apex coming through, setting up for that tiled section.
It's a great point you make there, Joel, because when you look at it, if you get down nice and low, Tony, and Joel moves out the way for just one moment, you can see again, this is another section that you can straight line. Now, we see a lot of guys coming out, like Joel said, hugging it really tight. And because this apex kind of comes up on you real fast, you get pushed out a little bit to the right and have to correct going into the paver section.
Absolutely.
But if you grease it, come a little bit in the middle of the jump, you can straight line your way all the way to the apex on the pavers here.
Yeah, that's right. Coming onto the pavers here, from the cars in this braking point, you can see the build-up leading onto the tiles here. If you come into this a little bit too hot with the high grip, the cars have dragged that much oil onto these tiles that it's also that sticky. The car will unsettle just as you're trying to grab a handful of steering, and you end up on your lid. And once you're on your lid on the tiles, there's nothing to catch. There's nothing to flick the car back over and just hope that you don't need a marshal. It's almost guaranteed that you are getting marshaled on this point if you're not coming into the tiled section clean. It's a really cool section. It's super sharp corner. Pretty unsettling if you come in wrong, but if you nail it, it's super rewarding. You can gain a lot of time here.
Yeah, if you come in slow to that corner, that little rise before the pavers start doesn't really affect you too much.
That's right.
But like Joel said, if you come in hot, you get bucked a little bit, pushed wide onto these pavers. And like these pavers, if you look down on the ground, this is the colour they were, and this is the colour they are. And this is just pure traction.
Yeah.
So there's no ridges or lips on these pavers that unsettle the car. Any cars that crash in here is purely from traction.
Yeah.
So a very, very grippy section. And one of them, I think on this track, this sweeper is super critical because it sets you into this triple section, which we'll get to shortly. But when you come off these pavers, hopefully you've had a nice line and you're sort of hugging 2 car widths out from the apex. You get into this sweeper section and there's a lot of bumps right here. Yes. And you'll notice, interestingly, we'll see this across the track a little bit, where there's a section where the cars are jumping, you see this almost dust build up. That's because tyres are never really touching that part of the track.
Absolutely right.
Cars are launching straight into this really high grip sweeper.
Yeah.
And coming off the pavers with a lot of pace. And the guys who had the cars set up right and the tyre choice right today were able to carry a ton of speed through here. And if you didn't have the right tyre, you had too much grip or the car was too soft, they were finding it really difficult to actually come off here smooth because there's so much traction.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And again, you can see where the cars are going. It was only a week ago, Daniel and I were out here and we oiled this whole section, this complete lane, evenly from rope to rope. And you can see this is where cars are going, bringing their tyres. This isn't the line. And you look at the difference in surface, it's amazing. It's crazy. Yeah. There's so much grip.
There's a really grippy section. And there is a few holes in this section. Yeah. I suppose looking back from there, Tony, you can see little chips and divots out of the track. And to be honest, they don't really affect the cars too much. The cars seem to sort of coast over them pretty well. I suppose if you chuck a wheel into this hole we're looking at right now, you might get buck wild. But for the most part, it's about having the car set up so you can actually get on the power and not traction roll.
Absolutely. Which leads us into this next section. We used to have a big double over here. We decided to stretch it out a little bit, make it a triple, give you that option line. If you're coming through that corner, the car gets a bit unsettled, you do have the option to double and then single out. It's safe, the car likes it, it's all good. If you get a nice clean run through there, man, bit of a stub on the gas, you're making the triple, you're gaining heaps of time. It's a really cool section of the track and it's wicked for the spectators as well. Big air, big whips, everyone loves it. Yeah, it's mega, you're right up there.
This is the first, I would say, the big risky option section because it is no doubt faster to triple out of here. But we've had high wind and we've had quite a high grip run up into this jump. There's a lot going on in a short space of time and you can make time doing a triple. It's very easy and safe to double single through this section, but it is slower. One thing that's interesting is we have carpet on the track, and for those of you who are watching on the stream, you might think, why do they have carpet on such an immaculately oiled surface with such high grip? Why do you need carpet? The reason we have carpet is per RCRA rules, we have to make a certain amount of changes to our facility and track, and we're only allowed to run on it one time. And with oil tracks, unfortunately, they need time to actually settle and bed in. So we have, this is a new lip, and we'll see some carpet shortly, which is also on new jumps. And if we lifted the carpet up early on in the weekend, the jump would have chopped out and we wouldn't have been able to actually repair it.
That's right.
So the carpet is keeping that jump face in good condition. As you can see though, the carpet itself is degrading. Now last night we did some track maintenance, changed this around, and today we've even trimmed this section, but the cars are hitting into this, and I'm not sure whether it's genuinely the sharpness from the bumper or just the fact that the oil itself is so sticky here. I can pick the carpet up just with my hand.
It's just pulling it.
That it's pulling the strand. So we'll fix this tonight, but if you're watching on the stream and you see guys crashing over here,
it's probably why.
It's probably why. But ultimately, it's a decision that us as a club who are hosting this event have to make for the best outcome for all of our entrants. And we thought that protecting these jump faces so that they are smooth still was the best choice. So that's why there's carpet on there. If you're wondering why there's any carpet on the track, that's the reason.
And the same can be said for this down ramp here. It's a new section. This dirt was all disturbed only a month and a half ago. And like Andrew said, given the rules of RCRA, we're only allowed to run one clubby on here. You can see, if we put up photos, you'll see from previous live streams at the start of the weekend, the surface itself has changed that much purely from having vehicles on there. It's insane.
Yeah.
The way it's bedding in the surface, You'll see in a second when we go up to this top section here, like all of this stuff was agitated dirt. We just oil thumped on it and we pumped a roller into it. But what cars do to it, we can't match that with a machine.
Yeah, it ends up being pliable,
Yes,
as we've already
absolutely.
seen. And one of the things, again, watching on that stream is you might look at it and go, that must be hard. Like hard surface with lots of grip and rubber.
Yeah.
It's not hard. It actually is pliable. And one of the
Absolutely.
reasons the jumps chop out is that they are pliable. This lip itself, leading into the quad, which is our next option line section, this lip is an old existing lip. And you can see that this lip is incredibly
healthy.
Good condition.
Yeah, it's healthy as. It's withstanding the cars, it's taking the beating, it's working consistently. But yeah, like Andrew said, this is a section of the track we didn't need to change. We previously had a double here. We wiped out the down ramp, we added in a bit of a rhythm section, and this is, again, one of our other option lines. You'll see guys coming through, hugging this apex really tight on that corner. Some of the EP guys are able to hit that apex and still make a triple, then single out. But myself and a lot of the nitro guys are just finding that the consistent line that we really can just rely on is getting out of that apex as quick as we can, easing up the jump and doubling through this section here. And it's a really fun rhythm section.
I would argue that I've been doubling. I thought the triple single was a bit risky.
Yes.
But as the weekend's gone on, I think more guys have gravitated towards the double lines through here. And personally, I think that's a risk versus reward. You can triple here. If you went all the way to the outside rope on this corner here, you can actually quad this. No one's doing that because it's probably 5 meters from the apex to the outside rope. So an extra 10 meters of distance to quad this. Lap time's probably not going to reward you for it. Plus you can get chopped out with someone cutting you off on the apex, which they're entitled to do because they have track position. So
absolutely.
Double's the safest. Triple single is a line that guys are doing.
Yeah.
Certainly in EP it's a bit easier, but guys in nitro are doing it.
Guys that are coming up short, you know, if you make a mistake on that first double in this section and the car gets unsettled, you can't get the drive down, this hole here, you know, that's a whole shoe deep. And it looks violent from where we're standing here and looking at it on the track. But to be perfectly honest, man, I've been racing it all day and I've had times where I've messed up that first section. So I'll roll my first double or I'll roll that first single and then double and single out. And the car is just eating it up. It's not giving me any grief at all.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. This hole is actually developed from guys tripling and hitting the fourth one. Right. It's not made from people who are tripling if they down ramp. You almost skip over this hole.
That's right.
And if you double, you skip over this hole. So this is purely from cars hitting this the knuckle of the fourth jump. And again, this is a brand new jump section. So the reason we have carpet in the center here is to keep these lips as best intact as we can.
And not let that happen.
And not let this happen. We didn't put carpet on the fourth one. We thought that double is probably going to be the most consistent line. Guys are jumping over. Obviously, it's blown out a little bit, but I think we've had, I checked last night and it was 4,100 laps. I'm assuming it's over 8,000 today. So
easily,
8,000 laps of usage, and this is all we have. I mean, we've got 2 more days, but I think it's coming up pretty good. And you know what? If that develops into a big hole and it's an issue for guys who are tripling, then that double line comes into play. But certainly from a lap speed perspective, the triple single is a bit faster.
Yeah.
So double's safer, triple single is a bit faster, but there is risk in that. If you crash, all of that lap speed you've gained over 10 laps, if you've been it there once, you're going to lose it. Yeah. And speaking of binning it there once, it's a pretty busy section. So we got jump on jump. We got a lot of marshals around this section, but if there's traffic coming through, those marshals can't get in there safely. So it's a bit of risk. If you make a mistake there, you could be in for a long marshal, could slow your run down and probably not get the benefit that you were getting out of doing the triple line through there.
I fully agree, man. I fully agree. Which sends us into this new section of the track, Dan's Ramp. We built this up. We used to have a big high section up here. A lot of guys watching would have seen this part of the track before. We're a bit stumped with ideas on what to do with it. And Dan came to me and said, what if we just push it up, make this big speedway bank, man? And if you look on the ground up here, this is all a new section. We aggravated this and got into it. And you can see how hard this line is compact down here. We've got blowouts, a bit of character and whatnot. But if you look up, this is what we had at the start of the weekend. Up here, all this loose stuff, this is all just from cars slinging dirt, man. Slinging dirt. We've just got this build up of loose surface. It's so cool to see. It's I actually love this part of the track. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
There's a small truggy width that you can get through here and clear out and miss all of these holes. And when you hit that, you just feel like an absolute hero.
Yeah, I would say
It's really good.
in the A buggy heat, that was the line that most guys were hitting
Yeah.
because it is, it's a buggy width and a half basically
Yeah.
off the apex. So it's actually not too difficult to hit that section. Even if you do hit the bump, it's
It's not that
interesting.
bad.
It does look quite gnarly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't upset the car very
No,
much.
man.
So
No, I
it
think
looks
it's
worse than it
absolutely fine.
feels.
Yeah. Yep.
Certainly. There's a few
Absolutely.
bits on the track where you look at the bump and you go, wow, it's a big hole. There's so much grip. The cars are going so fast, they almost skip across the top of the hole.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it
Absolutely.
certainly is developing some character right in there. But most guys who are super fast are taking it right on the apex and missing the hole. And your more intermediate drivers are going through that hole, but it's not upsetting the car too much.
No, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
And this does send us, Joel. I might take the reins on this one.
Go for it, bro.
Because this does send us into possibly the most fun section I've ever driven on an 8-scale track. This is Option Line City. This is Risk Reward.
City,
This
man.
is super high speed. So coming out of this corner, you want to get a nice run into this roller, which has developed a really nice lip on it.
Yeah.
So you have a few options on this. For guys who, when we get into the next section, we'll show you the big gap. But either you can jump this and land to flat, or you can slow down on this, brake check on the lip, and you can see how the lip goes from this sticky clay to just loose silt. That's where all the stuff's getting flicked back, but this is where the cars are leaving, and you can downslope the other side of this hump. If you're going to downslope the other side of this hump, you can send this tabletop all the way into the valley.
Yep.
If you're going to jump it to flat, then you would just jump this tabletop, downside it, jump into the hole, and jump out. But this is the most risk-reward option line, I think.
Absolutely, man.
And it's probably the one that has the most instant lap speed gain.
Yes,
So-
absolutely.
and it's the most fun.
Tricky, man. It's super tricky. We're on the furthest lane from the rostrum right now. We've got these trees up the back here in the afternoon. We get the sun with shadows all over it. Difficult to judge the car, but exactly like you said, man, if you can nail this, I've been playing it safe all weekend. I've watched Andrew has been making up heaps of time by doing this table up ramp. When you downslope that roller, he's landing all the way from there, and he's actually down ramping this here. Like that's a mega jump, man. We're probably talking 15 meters there, 16 meters. That's a huge jump to make on the furthest lane from the rostrum with shadows playing its role as well. It's risky, man, but the time that you make up, I'm just down ramping the table, I'm skipping in here, nice little jump out, down ramp that carpet section, and it's smooth, but I can see how much faster guys are when they're doing this big jump, man.
It is risky. In my last buggy qualifier, I picked a bar tire, and as the track got a little bit dusty towards the end, I actually messed this section up on the last 2 laps. I punched the throttle off the roller, cars skipped sideways a bit, and it sent the car actually hit the tree.
Yeah.
In one of the sections, and there's been a few cars who have taken these trees out
Oh
because
yeah, man, this has claimed a few arms, it's smoked some hinge pins. I think somebody snapped a hinge pin on this
yeah, I
one,
did
man.
see
It's
it's broken.
pretty
I've seen a
wild.
few broken cars from guys who are wanting to send this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think ultimately, whether it's faster or slow, it's definitely faster. It is the most fun section.
Yeah, man.
Because you are full throttle, there's no lift. So when you land that roller, you want to land that as high as you can to get as much drive as you can. You're absolutely full throttle.
Yep.
Full throttle, and when you're full throttle, basically where this white line is marked, if you're in nitro buggy and you're full throttle, you are basically landing right on the crest of this down ramp. So super rewarding when you get it right. And when you get it right, actually, it's much smoother. Having to jump roller, jump table, land flat, and jump into valley unsettles the car. It is much safer because it's
Absolutely,
a
man.
lot slower
Yep.
car speed, but less risk. But from a fun perspective, if you wanted to have a good time,
sick.
this is a pretty big yeehaw jump.
Yeah, it is, man. Absolutely. Even just looking now, you can see how most of the guys are hitting this middle section of this lip jumping out. And if you stand square on with it sideways, you can see how much lip has been pushed backwards. This was a straight painted line yesterday. And now we've got this mega spot here that's still as we shaped it. This was a consistent face the whole way along only 3 days ago. And it's taken 2 days of cars, 8,000 laps. And this has moved it back, man. We've probably moved 50, 80 mil back just from that that clay getting jammed by chassis. It's that sticky that it's just molding it. It's crazy. It's really cool to see.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
it's really
And that,
cool.
I mean, this jump out rather, is quite easy. You probably almost call it a tabletop. It's a tabletop with a little bit of a lander on there.
Yep.
A bit of track repairs going on right now. But put a bit of carpet on here. Again, this is a completely new down ramp section, so we
Absolutely.
didn't want that to get chopped out. The carpet's really helped out here. And you notice on this carpet, there's nowhere near the amount of damage to it.
That's right. Nobody's jumping up that lip. Cars are barely hitting it. You know, we've not really had to bang mega pins in here. Nobody's getting caught up or carrying on. It's good. It's really good.
And you can see, if you look down here, Tony, you see this section here, this whole surface was oiled. So if we had left the jump without carpet, you would have ended up, unfortunately, with dirt like that. And we had a lot of 35, 36, even 40-degree days in the preparation.
Yeah.
We could not have put more water, oil, and rolling into this surface to get it prepared, given how much we're allowed to run on it. Unfortunately, it's just a matter of fact.
Yeah, it
just
is,
to
man.
protect it, to
Yep.
give the entrance the best possible track that we can dish up.
Yeah.
This has had to happen. But again, this carpet, people aren't getting caught out on it.
No.
Makes it nice and easy, keeps that jump really intact, and sort of sets you up into the last section of the track, which is, it is quite a difficult one. This is
It
the
is,
furthest
man.
point from the rostrum.
Yep.
You're into a nice hairpin here, which is reasonably straightforward. The difficult part is the line out of here, and it's not difficult to do, but it's difficult. It's difficult to do fast. You can lose
Absolutely.
a lot of time in this section here.
I think even leading up to this section, man, a lot of guys jumping out from underneath the trees there are over jumping that down ramp. When you over jump the down ramp, you can almost see this second sort of hole that's developing. Guys are jumping that far over, carrying that much speed. They're hitting this hole, and the car does actually unsettle a bit, and you've got to square it up. And with such, I'll keep saying it, but with the grip being so sticky, that's all it takes. Quite a few guys are ending up in the barriers or up over the fence. You know, it's wild. You've got that much speed down that back straight, and then to jump and pull it up on a dime, rotate around this corner, and you want to be in and out again. It's a really cool part of the track. I like it.
And like funny you mentioned that little hump there, because
Yeah.
what's ended up happening is the down ramp that's there, you're almost wanting to down ramp past it and downslope the hump that's there.
Yes,
And it's
absolutely.
probably a little bit hard to capture on the camera, but it certainly is a change of altitude in the landing. And if you downslope the jump and then come through that section and smack the brakes, the rear gets unweighted, and like Joel said, people are ending up in the sleepers in the fence. So
Yeah,
you
man.
want to almost be downsloping. That hump is the fastest line, and then coming into this apex.
Yeah.
Again, it's another apex where there is a very consistent line with a lot of traction, and you don't need a lot of brake.
No, you don't. I was about to say that, man. It's very similar to the first corner. You land that down ramp nicely, you can use the steering of the car, and that weight transfer scrubs so much of the speed as you come into this apex. When you can get to this corner, as you're seeing right now, it's actually a straight line, straight from that apex through, but it's so easy to end up 1, 2, 3 car widths off. All of a sudden you don't have a straight line anymore, and it becomes a chicane with a jump at the end. And that's catching a lot of guys out. You're coming from a line, you know, from this way here, just skimming that rope. If you look over the crossover, that lines you up perfectly for some rope. You know, you don't want to be there. You don't want to be in that position. You want to be nice and snug here on the rope, square yourself up, and that puts you in a perfect down ramp middle section for that last tabletop.
Absolutely. And this as far as the jump, maybe is the easiest one on the track.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't need a lot of throttle.
No.
The jump's got a really nice gradual face on it.
Yep.
And a really big,
long down
landing.
ramp. Yep,
So
absolutely.
really easy to clear. And for anyone at home that may have been watching over the weekend or saw the pictures and thought, crossover, is that going to be a marshalling? Is that going to be, you know, what if someone shorts it and crashes into someone? I've not seen it. We've had a crossover for a while. Doesn't
Yeah.
cause us a lot of issues. There's been no marshal safety issues. And there's certainly been no one jumping off this and landing on anyone. So as far as the section's concerned, while it may look a little bit risky, it's actually quite safe because it's very easy to clear.
It's safest and easiest parts of the track,
It's
isn't it?
easy to clear. Like Joel said, though, it's hard to get that line straight
Yeah.
because when you do come and land this long down ramp, we have this sort of continuing right-hander, which is incredibly high traction. And it sends you into the last jump on the track, which is a really great tabletop. On that tabletop is a raised landing. So the cars are getting a lot of air on here.
Yep.
People are scrubbing a lot in the air. There's a lot of whips going on to slow the car down.
Yep.
But getting the drive from that crossover and on the right line, which realistically speaking, for most of my runs, it's about over here.
Yeah, man. Yep.
So you end up going from inside to outside effectively on the ropes, right? We're landing here, full throttle. When you land that crossover, you want to be on full gas and driving the car through this corner. You end up getting quite close to these ropes. So it's, in actual fact, the section's very wide, and the line in this section is incredibly wide. So you have a lot of option. If you do go a bit wide, you have grip still. There's no dust. There's no holes.
Yeah.
You can get through it quite easy, but certainly the fast line, straight line in that crossover, inside to outside, setting you up into this last jump on the track.
And it's actually not perfectly flat. You know, the surface is smooth, but it's not a flat surface. It's quite undulated. There's little unsettlements. And when you land from that down ramp and you are on full song, whilst turning, you know, if your diffs are light, you start inside wheeling a little bit, gets the car unsettled, and it only takes you to hit one of these small undulations, and you either have to correct, save yourself, and lose out doing this last jump, or you just commit to it full noise and the car will just blow off, man. We've seen quite a few explosions through here just from guys on full song.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a super cool section. And then this jump, man, it's one of my favorite parts of the track. I really, really love coming from this inside line, like Foord was just saying, hug that rope, smack it nice and tight. You can see where the traffic is, man. You know, like you look at this part of the ramp and this part of the ramp. Again, 3 days ago, this was a consistent face all the way across. That's where the traffic is. That's where they're jumping. And hitting this side of the jump sets you up perfectly for that apex on the other side coming onto the main straight. You can almost jump across the face, switch a lane up when you're landing, and it's really cool. Mega whips, huge air. It's nice and close to the rostrum. Everyone gets around it. It's sick.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
on this jump face, whilst it almost looks a little bit chopped out, like it would buck the cars when they're going over it. It's really smooth. It looks far more gnarly than it feels to jump. The difficulty in this section is certainly the speed and the grip. It's not actually the lip face itself. So this is just, like Joel said, this has just been pushed in by chassis. It's amazing what 8,000 laps of 4 kilo cars do to a track, but they're able to move jump faces, create these little ridges. You can see that this section that used to live down here has been slowly pushed up. Pushed up onto
it's
the
like
top of the lip.
It's dragged that oily surface off and it's exposing our dry stuff underneath. You know, like that's the structure to our jump. This is just the skin that we've developed, and it's just dragging it off. The chassis are just picking it up and pushing. It's crazy. Again, we repaired that last night, put more oil on it, gave it a smackdown. I think it's just going to be a daily thing just to stay on top of. But like Andrew said, you don't really feel it in the car. It looks a lot more hardcore than it is.
Moving into, I guess, the last corner on the track as we've done our long lap walk. But
I'll let you take this one, Andrew, because you've actually got one of the best lines coming from this down ramp, hitting that apex and getting back onto the straight. I'll let you talk through this.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that. That's a very nice comment. So we're trying to hit it in the lip where we just discussed, and then sending it down here. We have one little hole, which, to be honest, it doesn't unsettle the car too much, but if you land directly on the backside of that hole with the back of your chassis, it can lift the back up. So especially if you're landing here on brakes, some guys are landing because they're going so long, they want to land on the brakes because it's not long until you're right into this hairpin, which you don't want to blow wide. So what I try and do is avoid this hole if I can and land a little bit longer. I'm trying to land almost down here, right in the bottom of the transition. The jump is such a long down ramp and the transition's so long, you can get away with going really long.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're almost flat landing, but there is some transition you can catch, which the car actually lands quite smooth. And then what I try and do is keep maybe a car width off the corner, and I pitch the car here. So I start my turn really early, and by the time my car is halfway through the apex, I'm full throttle. And what I try and do to get out of this corner as fast as I can is pull full throttle and let the car drift out towards the pit lane. You have such a long straight, there's a lot of time to maneuver the car back onto the line you want to be on.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you try and apex this corner and be super tight, you just lose a little bit of lap speed.
Yeah.
So coming a little bit wider, as you get through the corner, full noise, sending you up onto the straight. And my car almost was going from apex, drifting 3/4 of the way out on the straight.
Absolutely, man. You're pretty much on that shadow line from the rostrum there by the time you hit the middle of this top section of straight. It's this massive arc. I love watching it. It's something that I'm trying to learn. It's a really cool line. It's sick.
It is, and that would conclude that the track walk.
Yeah,
so
good, man.
there's a lot
Sorry
to
we
talk
dragged
about.
it on a little bit, guys, but there's heaps to talk about. It's a pretty unique surface, you know.
It's a long lap too.
It's
I don't
a
know how many
long lap,
nationals
man.
you've been to, but
Only one.
when only once. This is second. It's my, I don't know, 10th or 11th or something. But there's not many tracks these days that are, you know, that 37. Like I think Kyle in E-Buggy and Alex may have got down into the high 36s, but for most of us fast guys, if you're doing a 37, you're flying. Guys
Absolutely.
are averaging mid 38s on a hot lap, and that's a really fast lap. For your sort of B, C, D grade guys, 40, 42, 43 second lap. So it is actually quite a long lap, which has been a bit of a godsend given that we've got 15 cars on the track. There's space for everyone to kind of work out a bit of area for them to qualify on their own clock and not get in each other's way. But it is a long track. It's a hell of a fun track. It's a very busy track, and it's quite technical. It rewards accuracy. It rewards commitment in some of the sections, and you got to figure out what you can do consistently, and then kind of build on that leading in towards the mains on Sunday. I think, from my personal opinion, going through the weekend, I'm trying to figure out what I can do and repeat.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
what can I do and repeat with a lot of consistency? And there's some option sections which I'm not doing, some which you take the safer line.
Definitely.
I'm taking the risk in the back section, but not taking it in the triple single, for example.
Yeah. And it also comes down to that moment, you know, there's a lot of thinking on your feet on this track. You might come through a section, hit a small undulation, and then you're not set up for what you intended, you know. That option's not there anymore. You have to pick a different line. You might be in a battle. Some guys just manage to sneak up the inside of you. There goes that option. You need to, you know, you're on the fly consistently, and there's so many options through different sections of the track. I think it's really cool. I really do.
I do. Thank you, guys.
Awesome, man. Thank you, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and keep an eye on the live stream.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Great job.
Yee-hoo!